10.5. So in 10.4, we saw how to solve a quadratic when it was in factored form. Okay, so what we need to do now is learn how to take those quadratics and put them in that factored form. So they're breaking it down a little bit for us. We're starting with it in just when you have a 1x squared. It'll change in 10.6 when we have more than that, okay? So we're starting with 1x squared and then still your bx and c, okay? So when we talk about factoring, we're talking about writing it as a product of linear factors, okay? So that means you're taking x squared to start plus bx plus c, and you're learning to take that and write it as that product. So x plus p times x plus q. This is factored form. So that's what we need to learn how to do, okay? So when we think about taking this and writing it out, right, we FOIL. So it's first, outer, inner, last, okay? So these terms, this first term is the x times x. The outer is the q times x. The inner is p times x. And the last is p times q. P and q are just numbers, okay? So what this is telling us is that we want numbers p and q that are going to equal b when we add them up, and p times q is going to equal c, okay? So we're looking for factors of the constant that add to the number with your x, okay? So just let's look at an example. So x squared plus 3x plus 2. This is going to factor to factors of 2. They're just, right, so for now it's just x. So we get x plus something times x plus something, okay? So factors of 2. We know factors of 2 are 1 and 2. That's the only factors of 2. Could be positive and negative, okay? So 1 times 2 is 2, but 1 plus 2 is 3. Which is this number, and 1 times 2 equals this number, okay? So factors of the constant that add up to the middle term, okay? So let's work through some examples, work through some of them, okay? I told you how that one worked. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 15, okay? It's our first example. So our constant is 15, right? So that's what our value of c is. So start by listing all the factors of your constant. So it's positive 15, so we can do 1 times 15, 3 times 5, negative 1 times negative 15, and negative 3 times negative 5. Okay, those are our factors of our constant. Now, our middle term, or our value for b, is 8. So we're going to look to see which of these that when we add them together gives us 8. 1 plus 15 doesn't work. 3 plus 5, that works. So 3 and 5 are the factors that we want. So this is a 1 leading coefficient, so we know it's x and x. And then it's a positive 3 and a positive 5. So we get x plus 3 times x plus 5. And now it's in factor form. Okay, let's try another one. So we have, let's say, x squared minus 9x plus 20. Okay? So start with factors of your constant. So just the number, it's 20. So what are factors of 20? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and then negative 1 times negative 20, negative 2 times negative 10, negative 4 times negative 5. Okay, those are all of our factors of 20. Then we look at b, so take the sign with it. We want to see which ones add up to negative 9. So 1 plus 20 does not. 2 plus 10 does not. 4 plus 5. Well, 4 plus 5 is 9, but we want negative 9. So how do we get that? Let's look down here at negative 4 plus negative 5. That's negative 9. So these are the factors that we want. So then we can say, okay, again, it's 1x, so it's x here, another set of parentheses, x, and then these get filled in. So it's x minus 4 times x minus 5. And now it's factored. Okay. Let's try the next two just to see a couple more examples. Okay. This factoring is just not too bad because a is 1. Okay. So we get x squared minus 8x minus 9. Start with your constant, right? C. So in this case, C is negative 9. So what are factors of negative 9? Well, 1 times negative 9, negative 1 times positive 9, 3 times negative 3, and that would be it. Because I could switch the signs, but it's still the same combination. Okay? All right, then you look at the term with x. So that's b. b for us is negative 8. Okay, let's see which ones add up to negative 8. So start with the first one. 1 plus negative 9. That's what we want, right? Don't need to check the rest. You have your answer right there. So we get x here and x in another set of parentheses, plus 1 and minus 9. And now it's factored. It doesn't matter if I put the 9 here or the negative 9 in the 1. Okay, it still means the same thing. Okay. Last one. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 18. Okay? Start with your constant, right? In this case, it's negative 18. So what are factors of negative 18? 1, negative 18, negative 1, 18, 2 and negative 9, negative 2 and 9, 3, negative 6, negative 3, and 6. Okay? Then we're going to check which one of those add up to positive 3. So 1 plus negative 18, negative 1 plus 18, 2 plus negative 9, negative 2 plus 9, not working, okay, 3 plus negative 6 is negative 3, so then negative 3 plus 6 is what we want. So this is our combination. So we end up with x minus 3, x plus 6 in factored form. Okay. So factors of the constants that add up to the value of b. Okay, not every quadratic can be factored. What you're looking for to check is if the discriminant is a perfect square, then it can be factored. So you look at b squared minus 4ac. If that's a perfect square, then you can factor. Okay? And then the last thing is putting it together and solving an equation. Okay? So to solve by factoring, the first thing you do is you set it equal to 0. So put everything on one side. Then you factor. Then you use the zero product property. Okay, so we're going to solve x squared minus 5x equals 24. Okay, so you have to set it equal to 0. That means I'm going to move the 24 over to the other side. So subtract 24. And I end up with x squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. Then I'm going to factor. So my constant is negative 24. So factors of negative 24. 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, and 6. And it's negative, so it's like 1 and negative 24, and then negative 1 and positive 24. Okay, then you're looking to see which one of these pairs adds up to negative 5. So they have to be fairly close together. Okay, so let's try 3 and 8. So 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. So we get x plus 3 times x minus 8, okay, equals 0. So it's in factored form. Then the zero product property tells us one of these has to be 0. So we're going to say x plus 3 is 0 or x minus 8 is 0 and solve for x. So subtract 3. So x is negative 3 or add 8 and we get x equals 8. So two answers, negative 3 and positive 8. That's solving by factoring when it's 1x squared. In 10.6, we'll look at it when it's not 1x squared.